Welcome to Fintech Chatter News, presented by Tier 1 People, leaders in fintech executive search. Follow us on your favorite podcast player or Fintech Chatter TV on YouTube.
I'm Dexter Cousins, and in today's show, I'm joined by Scott Heyes, who's a partner at Mendoza Ventures. Scott's based in the US, but is an Aussie, and he specialises in helping Aussie fintechs launch and scale in North America. Scott joins us a bit late on the show, but now I've got an exclusive chat with Michael Nuciforo, the CEO and co-founder of Thriday. They announced some exciting news yesterday, and I caught up with Michael to have a chat about it. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dexter. Great to be on.
It's very good to have you on with some really good news that we can share with our listeners and subscribers. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we've recently just closed a fundraising round, which is really exciting for us. And it's been sort of a process that's taken about 6 months. So we went live with our product, which I'll explain a little bit more about later, in February through a beta phase. And once we went to that phase, we decided to start speaking to our existing and prospective investors. And yeah, after quite a grueling process in terms of due diligence and pulling the round together, we've managed to close a $6 million round, which is fantastic. And we're calling it a pre-Series A. And the lead investor is NAB Ventures, but we've also got support from one of our existing investors, which is Lempriere Capital.
Fantastic news, and especially as somebody who invested in your crowdfunding raise about 18 months ago, it's really great to hear.
Yeah, it's fantastic for our crowdfunding investors because from a book valuation or paper valuation, those shares have gone up in value. And, one of the things we wanted to do when we did the crowdfunding raise is bring along a community of people on the journey with us. So we love sharing updates with that group, and many of them are actually some of our early customers. So it's super exciting also for them to see now that the money they've put in is moving in the right direction, and hopefully, we can continue to grow the business over the coming years and ultimately see some great success for those early backers that we had.
Awesome. Now, for those who maybe aren't familiar with Thriday, could you tell us a little bit more about the business and the big problem that you solve?
Yeah, so Thriday actually came about from two sort of personal experiences that I had. So firstly, I had a corporate career for about 10 years and I worked in banking, and I was very much at the forefront of the rollout and growth of mobile banking. So firstly, I was at ANZ here and I launched mobile banking in the Australian market, and then I moved over to the UK. And what I saw when I was in the bank was that this huge adoption of mobile banking and the frequency of interaction that retail customers and businesses were having with their bank was just growing exponentially. And because of the digital capability that we had, there was a huge opportunity to provide services beyond traditional banking. So if you imagine that, these businesses are logging into mobile banking 20, 30 times a month, the equivalent of, once a day. And what they can do there is check their balance, make a payment, and so on. There was an opportunity to do more, and I felt that more was moving into more financial management, invoicing, accounting and tax. I think the mindset, though, of the banks at the time was to simplify and streamline and move back into more their core features and services. And I think, that was a conflict that was hard to resolve. So that often those features and until recently, banks were not playing in that space. So I guess I saw an opportunity there that wasn't being addressed by the banks. And then if you think about that data, that is the core of the data that is used by an accountant or bookkeeper or in fact the likes of Xero and MYOB to perform the bookkeeping and accounting part of what needs to happen when you run a business. So when I was running my first startup, which was a business called Parkhound, I went through the challenge of managing all of those different things. And there was different tools that I had to set up. It was quite expensive, obviously super time consuming. And I thought there had to be a better way. And I felt that combination of banking, accounting, and tax, and then bringing it all together, but also automating a lot of it would be a super compelling proposition. So what Thriday is an all-in-one financial management platform. It's unique in that you can get a bank account and a debit card through us, but then we also do the bookkeeping, accounting, invoicing, and then we're also allowing you to lodge your business activity statements to the ATO. And then ultimately, we want to launch the ability to allow you to submit your tax return to the ATO directly from the one platform. So it's super powerful. It's complex. There's a lot of different parts to that. Many people said I was crazy, doing banking, accounting, and tax, but I felt that a lot of the challenges today were these separate systems, which all had different data. They all had different products that people could use, and they don't really speak well together. So pulling it all into one, in my mind, was the only way to solve it. And thankfully, I was able to find a co-founder, Ben, who was equally passionate about this problem.
Fantastic. Look, as a small business owner who has zero and an accountant and just a whole lot of headaches, even with a small business and not many invoices, it sounds like an absolutely, kind of dream proposition.
Yeah, it is. I think we're in it for the long run, and I think thankfully the backing that we've received from NAB Ventures, gives us that opportunity, which is all we ever really wanted was some time to build out this, quite complex capability. But we also recognise that there's a lot of great people that do fantastic jobs for businesses today. What we're trying to do is just make it more efficient. And I think we're sort of designing it from a customer-centric perspective. I think the old world was, let's build a Xero, let's build a MyOb to make it easier for accountants, whereas we're trying to build something that's easier for the actual business owner. And we believe that in 5-10 years' time, people will look back and go, why did we use humans for a lot of this? We could automate it. Whatever is in an accountant's mind or a bookkeeper's mind can be codified.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do. And I think, ultimately we're a productivity tool. And the reason that we think it's so powerful is that time is the most important thing to a business owner. And if we can do this in a really efficient way, and it's obviously still very accurate, that's what business owners ultimately want.
Yeah, look, and it's a major frustration of mine, right? I've got all the data there, and then my accountant asks for the data again.
Yeah, exactly.
I had this chat with James at Henry, right, where it's you're actually doing all the work, and they're just getting you to sign off on it. And I said, well, what am I paying you for?
Yeah, exactly. And I think Henry's been doing an amazing job as well in this space, and I think we're hopefully building the future of what businesses want to do in this space. And I think ultimately, we see the first phase of what we're doing more as the time-saving utility part, but then ultimately, can we use this data and the insights and the forecasting about your tax or financial position to actually allow businesses to make better business decisions?
Yeah.
Because they can understand their finances, they can understand where they're going to run out of money perhaps, and make decisions about hiring or where they spend their money. So that to us is sort of the logical step that we take it to at some point as well.
Yeah. Now, NAB Ventures do not give their money away cheaply. They've invested in some just outstanding fintechs. Spriggy, 86,400. What was it that they saw in Thriday that made them get on board, and at a fairly early stage as well?
Oh, look, I think firstly, to your point, they're incredibly astute and they understand the market really well. And I think their exposure through the NAB business allows them to understand how the market at a macro level is operating and what are some of the key trends that that the business itself is seeing. Obviously, with NAB being the largest business bank, when we had discussions with NAB Ventures from the very first meeting, they really just got what we're doing and that the opportunity is quite significant. You think about the volume of small businesses in this country, and you think about all of them having to do banking, accounting, and tax, right? So the pie is huge. So I think NAB got the opportunity. I think they understood the gap, and I think they also recognised that with the right support, we can make this fly. And I think they looked at our team. They looked at what we had built to date with relatively limited resources. And I think those few things gave them a lot of confidence about, where we can take this product. But ultimately, we also recognise that it is a tough fundraising environment at the moment. So we're incredibly privileged to be here. We fully respect that we're really at the start of our journey. So we're hoping to maximise the use of this money over the coming years.
You talked about what you've built so far on limited resources, and as I mentioned earlier, I did invest in that seed round, and I got to commend you. You've done you and your marketing team have done a tremendous job of just keeping investors updated, right, and knowing what's happening from the very first. I think the very first moment, the kind of money left my bank was just really good communication coming out from you guys. Would you be able to give me a little bit of an insight before I get the newsletter as to what this investment's going to enable you to do for the next 12 months?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we just look. Firstly, thank you for passing that on. I think we've taken a lot of pride in trying to involve our investors and into a community. And everyone who invested in the crowdfunding literally dipped into their own pocket. It's not. They're using someone else's money. So we absolutely respect everyone who's put money into the business and treat it like it's our own. Now, over the next sort of 12 months, we've got a really exciting roadmap of things. So I think firstly, we're now in a position where we're going to start opening up to the public. So our beta phase, we've been running for a few months, and that's gone really, really successfully. The feedback we've received, both qualitative and quantitative, has been amazing. And, some of the key metrics we're tracking, have performed way above what we'd expected at this early stage. So that's given us the confidence now to sort of open up to the market, and that'll be happening over the coming month. I think the second thing is, from a feature perspective, we've just launched a feature which allows you to submit your BAS directly to the ATO. Which means we're now integrated with the ATO and we can lodge things on behalf of customers, which is incredible. So if you think about our product, we've not only launched a bank, we've not only launched an accounting system, but we've launched a tax system as well. And that integration means that moving forward, businesses on our platform can automatically lodge their BAS when it's due. All the calculations are done. It's really just a case of you checking and answering a few questions before it's submitted. And then even more importantly, once the ATO gives you the final verdict on what you owe or what you're owed, that information's passed back to you so that you can action it. We're super, super excited about that feature. And I think for us, when I started the business, I sort of put BAS and then ultimately tax on a pedestal as sort of where we want to get to. So to get to that point already is I'm really happy with the team and how we've been able to build something so quickly in that area. Now that you can do BAS, the sort of next frontier for us is tax. So taking those quarterly BASs, taking all the information we get about your business, and then doing a tax. Now, tax is a bit more complex, but given what we've been able to build to date, we just think it's a matter of time before we can launch that as well. So the next 12 months is really about, launching, growing, and continuing to enhance the product. I think there's a healthy balance of things that are already in the product that we want to improve versus some new features that we know our customers are wanting as well. And that's actually one of the tricky parts when you go live and you start actually getting customer feedback is making those decisions about what you do and don't do. So we're enjoying that challenge at the moment. We feel incredibly grateful to be in this position that we're live, because often when you start a business, you there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes to even get to launch. And especially building something this complex, we're just happy to be here, and we're sort of enjoying every minute, the good bits and the bad bits as well.
Awesome, mate. I got to say, as a small business owner, I'm sitting here going, "Wow, this would just kind of save me a lot of trouble, a lot of trouble."
Yeah, well, hopefully we can get you on board at some stage, Dexter.
If you can help me migrate from zero.
Yeah. Look, I think all those products are great, and we've taken a lot from what they've been able to build over the years. I think.
Well, to your point, you said earlier, Xero is a great product for accounting practices. As a business owner, it ain't that. It's a good product, but it isn't as great. What you're talking about enables me to cut out having the accountant all together, and maybe at year end, just getting in somebody just to make sure, from a kind of tax perspective, that I'm keeping the tax, the ATO suite. What you're talking about is, no more hacking around, with your tax login and all of that stuff and the small business portal.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I've probably spent 10% of my time every year on the phone to the ATO trying to sort something out that you just said you automate, right? So it's awesome.
No, and you know what, Dexter, that's exactly what we hear time and time again. We're building something that we wanted for ourselves. A lot of the team have come from running their own business or having a startup before. And to your point, we did an extensive amount of research, and we found that, the 10% you mentioned, that's consistent. So we actually found that business owners spend 6 to 8 hours a week on financial admin, which includes all these things, right? And, if we can bring that down, our actual goal that we track internally is to go from 6 hours a week to 30 minutes, which is a 90% reduction. That's our goal. That's how we think about features as well. So when we look at BAS or we look at tax or we look at invoicing, we look at it from a time perspective. So we take BAS, takes a business on average, 4 to 8 hours a month to prepare their BAS or quarterly, depending on how frequently they have to do it. And we want to get that down to a minute. That's how we think about things. And I think, that's what drives us. And, we're excited, we're really excited about, like I said, this opportunity, because we know there's so much more to build. We feel like we're 1% in to where we want to be. But with this fundraising, we now have the opportunity for us to achieve all those things that we want to do.
Yeah. Cool. Now, obviously, to build, you need to have highly talented people to do that. We've got some amazingly talented people listening to this show. If they're listening, what are the types of hires and people that you're going to look to bring on board over this next 12 months?
Yeah, we're looking for very talented front-end or back-end engineers. So our stack is React on the front end and React Native for our apps. On the back end, we a C# and mostly a Microsoft stack, and we use the Azure platform. We're also looking for talented people in data. So whether you're a data scientist, data engineer, we're a data-led business, so that's a key thing for us. And then we're also looking for some people in product and design as we build out our teams. So one of the really cool things about this round as well is it allows us to think more about our org design, and we're looking to build out a couple of dedicated squads for banking, accounting, and tax, whereas historically we've just had one big product engineering function. So we're looking for some designers and product people as well.
Awesome. And if they're listening, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yes, so I'd encourage them to personally reach out to me on LinkedIn, but also we obviously advertise our roles on our website, and we have a page there. So if they go to www.thriday, which is thriday.com.au, they'll be able to see the latest job postings on there. We also have a general application because I guess in this day and age, we're more interested in attitude as well. So if you're just a good person, believes in what we're doing, passionate about your career, we're always happy to have a discussion with you that might lead to a potential role with us as well.
Now, we've got plenty of kind of founders listen to this and and business owners as well. How can they find out more about the Thriday platform?
Yes, so with the beta phase, which we're just wrapping up, I'm happy for them to, again, contact me on LinkedIn, and happy to get some additional people added to the beta. But we'll be opening up to the public in the next month. So they can just go to the website, www.thriday.com.au. There is a waitlist form on there as well. So if you do go on there before we're open to the public, you can just enter your email and we'll notify you when it's available.
Awesome. Well, Michael, it's been great to have you on the show. Look, I mean, just fantastic to hear about the success. I can go back and tell my wife now that's probably one investment that I've made that might work out.
No, we hope so. We hope so. Look, we're putting everything into that, as all our efforts into making sure that we're successful.
Yeah. And I just want to say to ASIC, if you're listening, I'm not a finfluencer and I am not recommending anybody to make any investment decisions. Michael, awesome to have you on the show. Look, really kind of excited for this next 12 months for you, and would love to get you back on and talk about your success as the platform starts to add those features.
No, awesome. Thanks for having us on, Dexter, and keep fighting the good fight for fintech.
Well, more good news yesterday on the capital raising front, as our friends at Shaype raised $33 million in a Series C round led by previous investors, Regal Funds Management. The raise will help Shaype continue their growth and overseas expansion. And on the theme of overseas expansion, I'm now joined by Scott Heyes of Mendoza Ventures. Scott, great to have you making your Fintech Chatter debut.
Thanks, Dexter. I'm quite delighted to be part of this podcast, and thank you for inviting me on.
Mate, well, there's a specific reason why I invited you on, and that is that you got a lot of expertise in helping, I guess, fintechs launch in the US. It's obviously a key market for any fintech who's serious about being successful, that they're going to have to look overseas. So yeah, thanks for joining us to share your insights. Before we do that, maybe it's a good idea that you share with us a little bit about your background, because
the accent gives it away. I'm a Melbourne boy. I'm a recovering banker, as they call me. I had 25 years global experience working in corporate banking. My sweet spot there was helping out companies that were private companies grow into corporates. So moved to America 3 years ago with my family on the back of an opportunity for my wife. We locked down hard and early here, and I'm a member of a couple of business organisations, specifically around the Irish community. I connected people through that, and then from that I put a Tech Bridge to Boston event together, and I met Mendoza Ventures. And just out of discussions with that, we just realised, a lot of alignment, family similar age, lived in the same suburb. And basically, I wanted it out from homeschooling. So I just put up my hand and said, do you need help? And the Mendoza Ventures model is, we actively get our LPs, who are our investors, to help out and de-risk our companies. So came on board there, and within that, I segued straight into the CFO role after about a month. And here I am.
Now, we talked a little bit about and I think we kind of connected through the podcast. We caught up when you were in Oz for the Finnies, and I think maybe it's only been a week or two before that, there was actually an Aussie delegation had gone out to the US that you met with, friends of the show like We Money. Can you tell us a little bit about your kind of experience in helping Oz firms come out to the US?
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, I'm a proud Aussie, and I love seeing Australian companies do well, and Australians themselves. We do punch above our weight, and we've got a lot of expertise that's valued globally. So back in May, there was a Fintech Australia Austrade delegation that went to New York. I was part of the panel there, which was about fundraising and how to do it in America. And as you mentioned, We Money was part of that. There was a couple of other good Australian companies too. They're all high quality, and it was quite good to engage with them. We also had roundtable discussions where, they did like a quick pitch and, what their business was and where they could, tailor that to the US market.
What was your sense then, kind of as to the validity of the ideas and kind of their suitability to the US market? Because it's complex, right? You got like 50 odd states who are all like mini countries themselves.
Yeah, so look, it's The companies themselves were quite mature and did have significant revenue and contract wins, but a lot of that was in Australia. But I think the key here is they're designed to be global from the start.
Yeah.
So for them, it's just a natural extension. Obviously, US is different, right? And you've got to really work out your go-to-market, who is your customer, and who are your competitors. And this is key, right? So especially fintech. Fintech's predominantly the East Coast of America, so it's New York and Boston, the old financial centers of the world. It's not Silicon Valley. So, and the case in point there was the big boys, Sequoia and, Andreessen. Last year, they actually set up their first office in New York specifically to tap into the fintech area. Mm. So, it's really crucial to identify who your market is, where they are, and what the opportunity is.
Now, in terms of, I guess, the, challenges of doing that, what kind of support does Mendoza give to their, I guess, investments?
Yeah, so look, our portfolio is a little bit different. So just the background on Mendoza Ventures. Last November, we closed Fund 2, which is pre-seed to seed. And our model is a high-touch, high-conviction, low portfolio. It's not a spray and pray approach.
Yeah.
We dig in. We take board seats. We have weekly check-ins. But the key is here, we activate our investors, our LPs, to help our clients. So a lot of them are executives in tech and finance or family offices, and they help de-risk these businesses. They open up their networks or they provide specific, tech knowledge or financial knowledge, because fintechs themselves are complex. They're a regulated industry, and especially in America, it gets back to that too. It's state by state. So you actually need that expertise to help. So we're a bit different like that. That's our model. So currently in the market for we call Fund 3. That's $100 million US Series A to C. So this is the growth capital stage. And this is where we can help Australian companies, because that's the stage when most look to come to America. They've got good product market fit in Australia. They've got clients. But this is the time to scale globally. So they're after growth capital. So, we can provide that bridge for these Australian companies in America, be that trusted pair of hands, because, it's daunting. It's a massive market. You don't know who's on the other side. You don't know, it's nice to hear a familiar voice, but also someone who's actually going to add value. Now, that's not for everyone. Some people just want the cash and don't want the involvement. But, we're not. So that's another key point too. So Australian companies should really look at what do they want from their investors. They want a high-touch model who can help, or they just want the capital and they're going to do it themselves.
What have you found as being, the kind of, I guess, the view of Aussie founders? Do they want a high-touch model, or are they kind of more aligned to just getting the money?
I'd actually say high touch, and I think it's more that daunting prospect of moving from the small pond in Australia to America, and it's just vast, and it's the nuances, and it's just just everything from even just employment law from every state.
Yeah,
and, they really seek that advice, and someone can help guide them and just point them in the right direction, but also know they've got someone who's sharing the ups and downs with them and got their back.
I mean, we talked about this just before we kind of start the recording, Scott. I think one of the things that really kind of, for me, is having watched, Australian fintech develop and evolve, it's been a bit like watching, a kid evolve from a baby into a young person, and to see it get its own identity and personality. And I think, for me, the strongest identity trait and characteristics of Australian fintech is how we all kind of leverage each other. And there is this sense of community, right? Where we're all sharing information with each other and knowledge. And, there's not anywhere near as many egos as I see perhaps in other markets. Do you think maybe it's that kind of, that mentality is kind of makes them then a bit more aligned to the type of offering that you've got?
Absolutely. It's because we actually laugh, like once you become part of Mendoza Ventures, you become part of the family.
Yeah.
And it is very much a family. We've created this great network where all our companies work together, all our investors work together, founders are accessible to everyone. And, we've got a sense of community there where everyone helps each other, and that's been a big part of the success and drive of Mendoza Ventures. So that's totally aligned, with that from what I saw, even at the Finnies, the great sense of community in Australian fintech is, it's awesome.
Yeah. Now, fintech, I mean, it's kind of this one word that describes thousands of different problems, right? And opportunities and we've got all these kind of derivatives of fintech. When you look at the US market, where would you say, what are the biggest problems that need to be solved, and do they differ kind of state by state?
Yeah, look, it's just so vast. Like in America, a small niche is a big market, right?
Yeah.
So you can really focus in one area, whether it's just back office processing for large banks, that's an area that needs to be solved. A lot of the tech stack over here for banks is actually terrible. For a country that's, leading the world technology-wise, you'll be surprised at how many companies are stuck in the dark ages with their tech stack and their solutions that are required. So anything that can be simple, that can plug and play, especially in that infrastructure space, there's always a need for that.
Awesome. And in terms of, I guess, the B2C space, it's obviously really difficult here in Oz just because of the size of the population and the kind of stranglehold and kind of, monopolies that we have here. Is it easier in the US from a B2C perspective?
It's a hard one, right? It isn't because, a lot of it's influenced by social media. But with the market sort of turning, with one or two of our portfolio companies in that space, they're struggling. It's hard at the moment to actually get engagement because, likes on TikTok, does that translate into customers who are actually active users? So it really comes back to what's the problem you're solving and how simple is it to use and is there a need? So it's really that product market fit that needs to be, nailed down.
Yeah. So I guess, kind of if Aussie founders are looking to come out to the US, what would be your top 3 tips?
Definitely that you have to be here. It's boots on the ground. It is so different, and the nuances, what works in Australia won't work in America. What, successes you had there, doesn't matter. You're competing against American companies. You've got to look, smell like an American. They're very aggressive. They're the second point is it's all about sales and marketing. You can't be the humble Aussie and you can't say my tech stack's better or whatever. You've got to put yourself out there. It's all sales and marketing. You've got to really invest in people in there. But, on the positive other side is in America, you'll get 5 to 10 minutes of someone's attention, but you have to nail it in that time too.
Yeah.
FOMO is real here. Everyone will listen to you, but you only get one opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's really got to be a clear, precise message and get to the point. Nothing, less is more here in that sort of regard. It's like a teaser. Get people excited and then you dive in deep.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's kind of one of the strengths of the Aussie ecosystem is how kind of, inclusive and supportive we are of each other. But I had to warn the UK delegates that came out that, if they expect to go to Intersect and walk away with deals, it ain't happening. Yeah. But you will walk away with connections and kind of 6 months, 9 months later, it turns into something. Whereas you go to the US, you're expected to walk away from these things with term sheets and NDAs and kind of things well down the track.
Yeah, and that's a crucial point, right? Like Australia runs on relationships. It doesn't matter whether it's banking or fintech or whatever. You got to know, like, and trust the person. America is so big and vast, transactional. So you've got the opportunity. People will listen, but you've really got to be clear of what the opportunity is and why they should invest.
Yeah. And look, kind of as a side to that, and just to kind of illustrate, I guess the differences between the two. So we get, I think, around about 10 to 15 inbound kind of requests for people to appear on the podcast, right? They're all from the US. We hardly get any Aussies approach us to say, hey, can I come on the show, right? I got to go out and basically, go out and tap people on the shoulder. Whereas the US, like anybody, they've got no shame, right? I'm like, what? Who are these people? You've done nothing, right? So it does illustrate, I think, that, kind of maybes, there's a balance to get around, having humility, but also not being afraid to put yourself out there.
Oh, absolutely. They're taught from a young age here that, you ask any American, they're awesome. That's their starting point, right? So, and here, like, as my role as the CFO, I get approached by service providers every day. They keep going. They'll follow me up 10 times.
Yeah.
Whereas in Australia, it's like you said, no, I'll never speak to you again type thing. So, it's persistence, it's tenacity, and it's just putting yourself out there, having a crack.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thanks for joining me. If people are interested in, moving out to the US and want to have a chat with you, what's the best way to connect?
Probably the best way for me is via LinkedIn. So my profile's, pretty clear there at just Scott Heyes. You'll be able to find me there, spelled Heyes. Otherwise, through the Mendoza Ventures website, you can contact me via that. But I'm more than happy to have a chat to anyone in the Australian fintech community. Strong supporter, and just love everyone, see them do well. So
awesome, Scott. Well, great to catch up, mate, and can't wait to see you at the next event. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter. Thanks for joining me. If you're new to the show, make sure to follow us and hit subscribe on your podcast player. And if you're coming back, thanks so much for your support. It really does mean a lot to us. Until the next episode, stay safe. Fintech Chatter is presented by Tier 1 People, leaders in fintech executive search. We help world-class ventures hire world-class talent, and you can connect with us, tier1people.com.